back, everybody. It's a beautiful January day, all crispy and cold outside. We're going to do something a little different today. We're going to take this crusty old wheel hub and we're going to clean it up and shine it where it looks like new. Then we're going to combine that with this set of new spokes and this freshly re-chromed rim, and have a fully functioning wheel for our 1964 CL72 project. Y'all stick around, it just gets better from here. Of course, the first thing to do is to take this poor hairy, crusty, greasy, encrusted old thing over to the parts washer and clean it before I stick it in the vapor blaster. So I'm going to get on a pair of rubber gloves because it's ice cold and my parts washer is full of kerosene. Well, here we go on the first step of cleaning it up, which is basic parts washing. I know somebody's bound to think, and I've had people ask me why I wash these parts before I put them in the vapor blaster. The simple fact of the matter is the greasy stuff is very hard on vapor blaster medium, and it causes it to become clogged up and not useless. Plus, I have to change that on a regular basis and dispose of it. And the less grease and oil and stuff I have in it, the better. So let's get to work here. Well, that doesn't look quite as hairy as it did to start with, but now let's carry it over to the vapor blaster and see how it does. Alright, I'm going to give you an overview of how the vapor blaster works. I'm not actually going to start it up with the door open, but down in the bottom underneath this tray, down in the bottom underneath the tray is a large reservoir of water with some fine glass beads mixed into it. This way you get the full abrasive power and polishing power of the glass beads, but without any dimensional changes to the part. So I will hold this nozzle right here and I will run it over the whole part. Some people act like this is a miracle, but there are several times you have to go over the same spot over and over before it finally cleans up, or hit it 2 or 3 different angles. And then we have a rinse water nozzle. That's very important. When you get done vapor blasting, you want to rinse everything you possibly can and clean your parts as good as possible afterwards to make sure there's no residue left. It's not such a big deal on this wheel hub because I have taken the bearings out of it. But if you're doing something like a carburetor body, if you're doing engine cases, you need to thoroughly clean them, even if you have to take some of the plugs out the side of the case. But in the meantime, I'm going to shut the door and get to work blasting this. Man, that hub was a lot more stained and corroded than I thought. It took a little bit longer than I thought it should have, but it looks good. Now let's take it out and see what we got here. Remember how black and stained up it was? It still has its surface defects and stuff, but let's take it over here to the light where we can see it better. Man, that looks so much better than it did to start with. nice and it's original looking. I'm not going to be polishing it. It's still got some casting defects in it. But these were original to the bike and were on it when it was brand new. And if you polish this hub out like a mirror and correct all of the little flaws that came in it from the factory, well then, you're no longer doing a restoration. It becomes a resto mod. Which there's nothing wrong with that if you want it. I love a nice custom, especially when it involves taking an old school machine and making it better. But the owner of this one wants it 100% bone stock. Although, I really hope I can talk him into doing away with the selenium rectifier. Other than that, it will be absolutely, completely 100% factory stock. Right down to which way the bolt heads are turned. Alright, here we have the nicely cleaned up hub to go along with the freshly chromed wheel. I've already inserted a few of the spokes in here, but I feel I'd better show you some of my pre-processing steps. One of the things I do is I go through and I count the spokes in the package, and I separate the inner spokes from the outer spokes. And I'll explain that to you right here in just a second, how to tell the difference if you don't know. So here we go. Let me get two of them back to back here. One inner and one outer. If you will look right here, you will see that the one on the left side here has a shallower bend than the one on the right side. The one on the left side is an inner spoke. And what that means is that it goes down through the hub in this direction. I've actually got some here that I was just test fitting in the wrong. But it goes down through the hub in this direction. It comes out the bottom, then goes into a matching hole in the rim. The outer spoke, the reason it has a sharper bend is it comes up through this hole. Then it goes out to match a corresponding hole in the rim. If you'll notice, the rim holes are not straight in the rim. They're actually pointed in directions so that they can match up. The other thing I was going to tell you is if you will look right here on the wheel hub, especially on an older wheel hub like this one, you see that little ding right there in the corner of the hole? That little mark right there on that? Those are all the ones that originally had outer spokes in them. And you want to put the outer spokes back in those holes, mainly because the damage is already done. There's no undoing it. So if you put the outer spokes back in the holes the outer spokes came out of, you will hide it. But anyhow, I got my spokes. I got them separated out by inner and outer. Before I started anything, I counted them all. I have a decent spoke wrench. And of course, a new pile of spoke nipples. So I'm going to be putting this thing together slowly but surely. If you've never done a wheel before, it's not that hard. Take your time. But my advice to you would be to do one wheel at a time so you can look at the other one if you get lost. My favorite way of starting this, of course, is to put all the spokes in place first. As you'll notice, they go like this: outer, inner, all the way around. thing, like I said, when you go to assemble around, you want to line the outer spokes up with the witness marks that are on the hub. It's not a difficult process. You just have to be patient. I have done this by trying to put the spokes in one at a time, and that's worked for me. But I find it easier to put all the spokes in the hub first, and then set it in the middle of the wheel, and go from there. But just make sure you keep up with your inners and your outers. This hub is this old CL72 hub. This is actually a 40 spoke wheel, which is a pretty neat thing. Let me see something. Yeah, that's an inner. And this is an outer. It's really easy to get yourself confused, so take your time. There's an inner. And here's an outer. And then here's another inner. I'm going to carefully gather all of these up right quick. Flip this hub over and repeat the process on the other side. Once again, to make sure you get them in the right place, look for the little marks where the spokes were previously installed. If you were starting with a brand new hub that has never had a wheel on it before, you could actually, as long as you kept them in sequence, start with any hole. But since this one already has the marks, I'll make sure I try to put the outer spokes back in holes that originally had outer spokes in them. Dangling them off the end of the table like this helps. In this case, top of my toolbox. It's a very chilly morning here. Probably have to stop in a second and go stand over by the fireplace and warm up a minute. I have a little gas heater, fireplace heater burning over here. And it's enough for me to get warm by. I actually have a large force air fed propane heater that I could run in here, but the truth of the matter is that's just too much money for me to spend. It'll burn through a 100-pound bottle of propane in about 12 hours, which is just a little too much for my cheap old ass to spend. It doesn't get that cold in South Carolina for that long. So anyhow, there we have the correct procedure for the correct order to put these spokes in. I'm going to go stand over by the fireplace and warm up a minute, and then we'll come back and finish this up. Now here I am carefully aligning the spokes to their correct hole. I mean, it's actually pretty obvious once you get the hang of it and you're looking at the ram and you get the correct pattern. Look at pictures, look at your other wheels, unless you find yourself in this unfortunate circumstance of having to take them both apart. The other thing is, the flanges on the inside of the ram will guide you. There's some that are angled down that way. Those go to the other side of the hub. The ones that are angled up go to this top side of the hub, or to the side of the hub that you're working on. Start locating the spokes so that they cross each other properly. As you can see here, I've got them crossed per the original pattern. And I'm getting ready to do some more. The other thing, do not tighten any spoke nipples. Just simply engage them by a couple of threads. Like you see here. They're very loose fitting. That way if you find yourself snagged or something, you can always take them back off and correct whatever problem you're having. Take your time, be patient. Don't scratch up your nice shiny new ram that you worked so hard on. Just carefully pull things around. Match the spokes up to their hole in the ram. Make sure that they're crossing each other correctly. It's actually very relaxing once you get the hang of it, although it's nerve-wracking until you do. But anyhow, there's not a whole lot else to show you about this, and I'm not going to bore you by letting you sit here and watch me finish doing this. Just take your time. Get everything here. I'm going to take a little break from the show so that I can get some work done. Then I'll come back and show you guys the finished product and how we true it. You know, sometimes the problem with being one of the old guys who's been doing this for years, I forgot to mention something important a while ago that will make your life much easier, especially if you're spoking your first round. Okay, if you'll look here, now I have all of the outer spokes turned to circle in this direction. I have all of the inner spokes turned to circle in the opposite direction. If you'll look at the edges of the rams and see how the dimples are made for the spokes, you will see that they line up. Some line up with the outers, some line up with the inners in the right direction. So it makes it easier to install them. That keeps you from getting frustrated and scratching up your rims as much when you get down to the last few, if you orient them all correctly before you get started. I just remembered that, thought I would share it with you, because I got to get back to work now. Putting in spokes. Of course, this is also why you never tighten any of the nipples at all. You just put them in like about 3 turns, 3 or 4 turns, just enough to hold them in place until you get ready, till you get everything installed. But anyhow, I just realized that I needed to stop and share that with you. Now that is looking good there. All the spokes are in place. Everything is where it's at. Everything's still loose and rattly. So we're going to lightly snug everything up right now. And you can go all the way around and do this by hand. Or you can do what I like to do, just a little bit quicker, but if you're not careful, it could be dangerous. Put a screwdriver bit, either a flathead or a GIS that fits into the end of the spoke nipples in your battery drill. Then turn the clutch all the way down to the lowest setting. You should be able to hold it with your hand and stop it, because you don't want to tighten anything up. You just want to run these nipples in. So we'll start. I need to get this bit in place. Okay, yeah, that one is all the way in. Now watch what you're doing. You may have to loosen some. You don't want to clamp it down. You don't want to get the wheel out around. You just want to run them all in enough that you don't have to spend so much time doing it by hand. Then the next step, after getting them all just a little snug, we'll put it on the wheel truing stand. Break out the dial indicator and start truing it up. You can just use a rod and a magnet to get it good. I'm just persnickety, that's why I like to use a dial indicator. That's why you'll notice that's between the time I cleaned this hub and came back to it on camera, I had put wheel bearings in it because you had to have bearings in it in order to true it. Now, I'm not going to make you sit here and watch every step of this, so we'll be back with it on the truing stand. I got my dial indicator set up. This wheel is really way the heck off. It's going to take a bit of truing. As you can see, they're strung together right quick. It's almost 3/4 of an inch off. So, what I will have to do is, in order to straighten this up, I'll have to tighten the spokes on this side of the wheel to pull it to this side. And then I will have to come to this side right here at its point that is furthest off that way. And I will have to loosen some of the spokes that are on this side, and that are on this side. Then I will have to tighten some that are on this side. It's just kind of a slow process. You keep working it around until you get everything. First, I'll go through and snug up all of the bolts with my wrench, spokes with my wrench. Some of these spokes appear to be too long, which tells me that I'm probably out of round right this minute, while others are barely long enough. The part of the problem too is aftermarket spokes, kits, especially the foreign source ones, which are often all you can get. in authentic colors for these. I can get stainless steel stuff here in the U.S., and there are companies that will do the zinc-plated spokes with the yellow-plated nipples, as these bikes originally came with. But I didn't go that route this time. Perhaps I should have. Those are all special order. And the last time I ordered, it said it was more than a few $100s. And they didn't have them in stock. Everybody has stainless spokes and stainless nipples in stock. And that's fine if you're building a resto mod, but it's not stock if you're trying to do a box stock restoration. So anyhow, I'm going to get the truing on this wheel. Already it's getting noticeably better. So anyhow, that's the process. It's something sometimes you can do this in a few minutes, sometimes it takes a couple hours. Right now, all of these spokes are still sort of loose, so it's going to take me a little longer. I'm going to be snugging them all up, of course, once they're fully assembled. All you can do is get a good spoke wrench and go to work. This one might not be as hard as I thought. It's just going to take time. Remember, I showed you this thing earlier. It was 3/4 of an inch out. Now it's already that close in just a couple of minutes. So I'm going to keep working on it. And we'll have it. All right. We got it all laced up, as trued up as it's going to get. All the spokes are nice and tight. You can hear them all ring when I tap them. Every one of them rings. If you tap one and it's dull, that one's not tight, then you have to check it. The rim is pretty much trued up. It was a matter of I turn it and watch the dial indicator. Let me bring the camera over here where you can see it better. Watch the dial indicator. You can see I'm set up. I've got 30 thousandths of an inch of run out here, which is perfectly fine with me. There's a little tiny bit of an up and down motion. Most of it is smooth, but there's one spot where you'll watch it dips down. That is where the factory weld is that puts the rim together, because these are made in one piece and rolled and then welded together. It's kind of hard to see the location on this one because it's been sanded, polished, and re-chromed a couple of times now, but it's still there and I can pick it out. Like I say, that is it, the 0 mark, and that is 30 thousandths. And that's good enough for this one. Basically what you want to do, if you're watching your dial indicator and you find that your rim is too far that way, you want to find that area and tighten the spokes just in that area on this side, on the right hand side. And then if they say loosen them on the other, but don't loosen them so much that they're not tight enough. And of course, if you find it's too close, then you do the same thing in the opposite direction. I'm quite happy with 30 thousandths of side-to-side run out on this one. I wish that I could get the rotation will run out better, but it's due to the manufacturing of the ram. It's level all the way around till it gets to one spot, and then it dips down a hair. But overall, it's pretty good. So there, I've showed you how I go about lacing and truing the ram. Like, this is a really nice show bike, and it'll be safe to ride now. And it looks good. This ram looks so much better than it did. It was your typical crusty, oxidized wheel. The rams had to be sent off to be replated. We got zinc plated spokes with yellow zinc nipples to match the original. It spins very well. It's got new bearings in it. I'm quite happy with it. So, there we go. That is how I true a wheel. And hopefully you learned something from this. Or I know you didn't get entertained because I'm kind of boring, so I really hope you learned something. It would be a lot better if I had a spoke wrench. A spoke torque wrench. I got spoke wrenches. But I wish I had a torque wrench for spokes. That would have made things a lot easier. I may have to get one of those. Oh, what a beautiful sound. In the meantime, y'all keep wrenching, riding, and stay crazy. Hey, how about tell me in the comments what projects you're working on? Be nice to know. Oh yeah, and don't forget to use discount code Psycho1 when you're buying parts at japan.webike.net.